In this video, I will be explaining the function of double dotted notes and the role of double dotted rests. As you're watching this video, you're probably already familiar with the concept of the single dot, but let's just recap. Here is a minim or half note which has a value of 2. If we add a dot, this increases the value of the note by half of its own value. As the minim equals 2, half of 2 is 1, therefore we add 2 plus 1 together, which means that this note is worth 3. Now, if we add a second dot, this adds half of the first dot's value. So we already know that this minim is worth 2. We've already calculated that the first dot increases the value of the minim by half, so it adds 1. The second dot adds half of the value of the first dot. So half of 1 is half. We add these together. 2 plus 1 plus half equals 3.5. Let's look at another note. Here's a crotchet. It is worth 1. If we add a dot to the crotchet, this adds half of the crotchet value to itself. Half of 1 is half, so 1 plus half equals 1.5. If we now add a second dot, the second dot adds half of the first dot's value to the total value. So the crotchet is worth 1, the first dot is worth half, the second dot is worth half of the first dot, so it is a quarter. Therefore, we add these values together. 1 plus half plus a quarter equals 1 3/4. The purpose of double dots is that they help declutter music from the use of ties. Consider this bar in 4/4. As you probably know, the tie means add together. So if we add together these tied notes, 2 plus 1 plus half, the first note is played for a total value of 3.5. So why write all that when it can be expressed as such? The double dot can often help tidy up the mess of tied notes and make the music much simpler to read. Rests can also be double dotted and they work in the same way. They add half of the first dot's value to the total. So here is a crotchet rest which has a value of 1. If we add a single dot, the dot adds half of the rest value, so it adds half. A second dot adds half of the first dot, a quarter. So this rest is worth 1 3/4. Now, just a warning before you start getting double dot happy and using them in your music. Although double dots can be applied to virtually all notes and rests, just be aware that there are some complex rules regarding their usage, particularly with rests. Now, these rules are covered in another video of mine, but just be aware that you can't just pop them into your music whenever you feel like it. In the meantime, just remember that the first dot adds half of the note's value to itself. The second dot adds half of the value of the first dot. I do hope that this video has been useful to you. Thanks for watching.